Hi, everybody. Dr. Joan Ifland here. Thanks so much for joining me with these conversations about how to recover from processed food. Today, I have a wonderful guest, Kiera Jennings, who's going to be talking to us about Keto Brain Health Conference in Manchester, England. I'm so excited about this, Kiera. Whether you're doing keto or paleo or carnivore or plant-based or Mediterranean, all of these food plans remove processed foods. And I'm so glad we're on the topic of brain health because people don't typically have any idea that processed foods are related to brain functioning, but they're profoundly related to brain functioning. So, Kiera, what are your thoughts leading up to this conference?
I'm super excited. It's an amazing opportunity that has come my way. I was 19 stone by the time I was 19 years old, and I've struggled around food and my health my whole life. And discovering the addiction reset community and the incredible people that are hosting this conference has turned my health around completely and put many of the chronic health conditions I had into remission. So
Yeah.
it's such a gift to be able to pay it forward. It feels like an absolute gift to be able to share this with other people.
Yay. Well, this is the thing that people don't know, and they don't know for a good reason. When we're eating processed foods and we're sick from them, we're profit centers for two very powerful industries, the processed food industry and the medical industry. And I like what you said. It's a list of medical conditions that go away. They just gradually fade away as we're able to do a more consistent job with our food. We noticed a whole range of things going away. I love the focus on the brain, but I've done a lot of work recently on 20 chronic illnesses that are painful, that can really limit a life. And people just don't know. They're told by the medical community, oh, this is for a lifetime. You have to be medicated for a lifetime. And we know in our recovery communities that that's just not true. So I have a remission list. Kara, do you have a remission list of things that just went away when you got off the processed foods?
100%. Yeah, Joan. I came to a body size where I could find freedom of movement was one of the biggest things for me, and because it means that I can cycle up a hill with my little boy. I can enjoy things that just fill me with so much joy. And I used to have multiple infections. I
Mm,
ended up being hospitalized twice with infections on a drip, and I used to think it was just normal to go to the doctor on a regular basis. And
mm-hmm,
I haven't needed to go for quite a while. Migraines, joint
mm-hmm.
pain, chronic fatigue. It still blows me away to this day,
Yes.
the change in my life and most importantly the connections and the communities that I've found through this journey has been the most important thing for me. Yeah, very
Yes.
much so.
Well, this is a big secret, which I think is getting out there now. We're told here in the US that we should be strong enough, we should have enough willpower to do this on our own. It's part of the deception that keeps us using processed foods. Processed foods in the US alone, it's over $1 trillion business. And the medical industry in the US is over a $4 trillion business. So it's just not something that people know. But your conference, the conference where you're speaking, I love that there's people who go to that conference, people who tune in, and we'll get the link to it posted so that you can listen. They're going to find out that most mental illnesses they're not really different from each other.
Mhm.
Mental distress is caused by malfunctioning cells in the brain. So whether it's bipolar or cravings or attention deficit, they all have one big thing in common, which is the cells are not firing properly. They're either firing too fast and then they get depleted and there's a crash, or they're not firing at all, or they're chronically deprived of blood flow. So let's really get into that. And then as you go to this conference, you'll know all the mechanisms behind how processed foods, it's just the saddest thing, but it's how processed foods make our brain work for the food industry and not for us. So, Kiera,
And
just think mentally, did you have things like you found afterward? Let's just start with the frontal lobe. That
um,
there are things that you could do better, like you could pay attention better, you could learn better, you could make decisions better, you could control impulses better, you could solve problems better, you had a better memory, and maybe even a little bit better emotional processing, like you could stay calm and process an emotion. Did you experience any of those things?
huge. It's huge. It's been huge. Yeah. I mean, I used to get terrible brain fog and just feel that that was normal, and the sort of the clarity now it has blown me away, and terrible memory problems. So for all of my Irish grandparents had Alzheimer's.
Mm,
So it's a huge motivation for me to kind of find out, well, what's going on there, do you know?
yes.
Um, and like you say, decision making's improved. I've been able to train with yourselves as an advocate and feel and build up that brain power.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working on that and take on other training with Fitting Johnson as well. And it blows me away, like just memory, even things I used to take for granted, and being able to read a book, and yeah, the emotional processing. And I think I spent a lot of my life feeling numb to a certain degree, so
Yes,
to be able to
yes.
feel emotions fully, and to allow them to feel real joy and to feel.
Yes. What people don't know is that processed foods activate the middle of the brain strongly, cravings and stress. And when that part of the brain is that active, it's actually depriving the thinking brain, the frontal lobe, of blood flow. Well, that explains so much. It's like a competition, but it's very easy. The food industry brought their tobacco marketing model, their tobacco business model with them, where you have a worthless, destructive product, but you can create cravings for it. And they became the masters of creating cravings for cigarettes. So much so that here in the US, 45% of Americans were smoking at the height of smoking. So they do it with signals, with stimulation, with reminders, with cues, with triggers, but that it's very easy to do around food because the midbrain is already very tuned into food. So when that's going on, when you have cravings, it particularly shows up as cravings. Now your brain is in a competition between the craving brain back here in the middle and the frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe is where we have all these fun, crucial, essential functions like paying attention, like learning, like making decisions, like solving problems, like remembering and controlling impulses. So I don't know if that helps your listeners, but just knowing that, having that vision. Oh, the food industry is out there stimulating my middle brain. It's the front of my brain that I need to really enjoy life. So that's, I don't know. Kara, does that help? Is that interesting to know that there's a mechanical thing going on, that we're being manipulated?
That learning that within the addiction reset community really, really changed my whole thinking on everything. Like finding out what had happened to me, finding out that um no, like I tried everything going, and I tried keto myself years before, and it didn't work for me and things, but it was doing it as a part of a group of people, and then you start to sort of put attention on bringing this frontal lobe back online through a gentle
Mm-hmm.
walk or some breath work or all sorts of tiny little things that you kind of battle away with on your own, and then when you come and join a group of people doing it together, it starts to work, and you start to want to do what everybody else in your group is doing,
Yes.
and think for the good of the tribe. I think that's the one I love about it, is that it gets me out of this survival brain into a place of being able to think for, like, feeling the spiritual responsibilities to share this. Do you know, I'm to
Yeah.
think about my family and my friends, and to, I think that's been profound for me, very much so. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the survival brain. And yes, that you, the two things I want to talk about from your share, which is the survival brain gets involved. So this is the most primitive brain. This is way in the back because of dieting and
Mhm.
fasting. Dieting and fasting wakes up the fear of famine brain. And the fear of famine brain has a very particular pattern, which is it's the one time when if that part of the brain believes that there's a famine, which it can believe because of it only has one criteria: is there enough food? So when you're dieting chronically to lose weight, or you're fasting under the mistaken assumption that you will get control of your food through fasting, it works the opposite because you're waking up that fear of famine brain. And just like the craving brain competes with the frontal lobe, the fear of famine brain is very, very powerful. It will just take over your brain. People experience this as compulsion, obsession. That's when you are obsessing about food all the time, it's you know what's happened, that your fear of famine brain has taken over. And then what do you do about it? Well, you eat clean, real food regularly on time, messaging, signaling the fear of famine brain. Nope, there's plenty of food. It's good quality food. See, I have it all the time. I have it all the time, to make that obsession go away. So that I'm really glad you brought that up. When you have that fear of famine brain going and you have the craving brain going, the frontal lobe doesn't have a chance. The rational part of the brain is completely overridden by the other parts of the brain. People think that people call this binge eating disorder, but it's actually just a hyperactivated fear of famine brain. All right. So, the other thing you brought up is community. Here is the good news. Here is the great news. Here's the wonderful news. Here's the life saving news, which is there is a system of very, very special brain cells are all throughout the brain. It's the highest order of what drives our behavior in the brain. And they're called mirror neurons because they do one thing, and they do it all the time. And they will do it until our very last breath. They're watching. If this is the brain cell, it's like radar. It's watching, 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 watching what's going on in the outside world, and it has a copy function. If this is the brain cell, then it goes around to all the brain cells around it, and it instructs them to do what it's seeing other people do. And the food industry, of course, uses this mercilessly in their commercials. Their people who it's very, very deceptive, happy, healthy people eating processed foods, which is incredibly deceptive. But if you're seeing those kinds of images, then your brain is encoding that. It's instructing the brain cells around it to also eat processed foods, because it thinks that it makes us happy. So when you're in a community of people who are not eating processed foods, then those brain cells are happily, automatically, mechanically copying information. Oh, we don't eat processed foods. We don't eat processed foods. And that changes everything. It's impossible now in the United States. Americans are eating almost 3/4 of their food in processed foods. So when your brain goes out into the world in the US and most other places now, it's copying. Most people are eating most of their food in processed foods, and most people are sick. 93% of Americans have a diet related diagnosis. So that's what your brain is going to copy, and that's what your brain cells are going to be full of is everybody's eating this and everybody's sick. So that's normal. This is a key word. What can you make your brain think is normal? And if you're in a community like the Ark, where you can have access to clean eating, people who are doing an incredibly good job of taking care of themselves, then your brain is full of, oh, we don't eat that and we take good care of ourselves. And then you have an incredible life. You know, you're in charge of yourself. You have a life that is full of kindness to yourself, loving acts to self, compassionate acts to self, really healthy food, really invigorating behaviors. So, Kiera, tell us about your experience with gaining those skills.
That was transformative for me hugely. It made the difference between falling off the wagon every minute to being able to stick to my food plan, and that that blew me away. And to normalize self-care, to
Normalize self
prioritize
care.
putting
Mm-hmm.
my oxygen mask on was huge. And I love the term that I heard the other day in the community. It's like we've been sort of bombarded by this marketing message from the processed food industries for me like close to 38 years, 39 years, and I need to counter market that. So surround myself with people like at the conference, like in the community, and just to, yeah, to counter that. And that we deserve that, and we deserve that positive input and those healthy messages of care and good food and yeah, and community. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is. I'm close to 73 years old, and I am so glad that I lived long enough to be under the care of a person that really understands what I need and can deliver it consistently. Like, I need to lie down now. I need to. And then I actually go and lie down. I developed workaholism in college 50 years ago. And now that I have self care skills and self awareness, what do I need right now? And enough self regard to actually deliver on what I need. Oh my gosh, it's a completely different life.
Yeah.
It's a completely different life. I don't know. It's some years ago, a couple of years ago, as these concepts began to make themselves clear to me, I sat down one day and I asked myself, would I hire me to take care of me? And the answer was, maybe not. Are your meals on time? And do you get enough exercise? And do you get enough sleep? And um, are you aware of how much time you're spending on screens? And do you think kind thoughts about yourself? Do you praise yourself? Do you recognize when you've accomplished something? It's now that I have it and it's growing. Uh, I'm so glad I lived long enough to experience this. And everybody deserves this. Everybody deserves that feeling of, I am really spectacular and I am really wondrous, and I do, I am entitled to high self regard and high self care. So, what are some of the things that you do for your self care?
I like going for walks. What I really enjoy is I remember when I first started this journey, I found it's difficult to even talk to people sometime on a screen or even in person on occasion. So to have that conversation with somebody and to hear somebody reflect kindness back to me has blown me away. So to me that is like a special moment of care, having that reflection of kindness and care.
Yeah.
I like gentle stretching. I like being with family and friends and finding meaningful work, I think, and training and things that sort of empower me. Yeah, that and being creative. I found that writing has become a thing for me, and I'm really
Yes,
enjoying
yes,
it.
I love to write too. Hmm.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
All right, Kara, what are the three messages that you hope everybody who goes to this conference will walk away with? What are the three things that you hope everybody gets their eyes open to?
I hope that everybody gets their eyes open to that feeling of hope. Do you know
Hmm.
that there's hope
Hmm.
for a mission, that there's hope for a life free from pain and with the energy that we all deserve and the health that we all deserve, and that is rightfully ours to take. So
Yeah,
I hope that people get that real strong message of hope
I agree.
and definitely, and get to meet other people who are on this journey as well. That the first time I went to one of these events, that's what made it for me, was talking to the people in the audience um, next to me and having a conversation about they just really got it,
Yeah,
and really enjoyed
yeah.
it. Yeah, so that's
So,
special.
yes, lots and lots of hope, skills. It takes skills. In our community, we teach 150 skills. How do you live in a sick, processed food eating world without being triggered by it and maintaining your good, loving connections out there? And then, yeah, check us out. The Addiction Reset community can be found at foodaddictionreset.com. You don't have to go through the process of deciding whether you're addicted or not. You're here listening to this because you have cravings, and cravings are really the heart of getting control. Community is the heart of getting control over cravings. Getting control over cravings is the heart of getting control over your food. And getting control of your food then is the heart of getting your health back to where you want it. We've talked a lot about brain health, but oh my gosh, chronic illnesses like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, liver disease, gut distress, even reproductive issues. Processed foods inflame every part of the body. When you get off them and that inflammation goes away, then blood flow can reach those areas and you can recover. All right, Kara, I'm so glad we got to spend this time together. I appreciate you so much. I can't wait to hear how the conference went. And I will see you on the next episode of Conversations with Joan. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate your interest. Tell the next person. You can walk the next person out of this processed food nightmare with what you learned today. See you next time.